would also like to discuss with you about, since we discussed on the education curriculum, there's a discussion about the importance of STEM education being a part of our curriculum and how importantly it can affect our economy and the economic growth per se. What is your opinion on this?
STEM is, the latest buzzword is AI. STEM is now we're all done. We've talked about it enough, that's done. So the latest is AI. I think it's another buzzword, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math in education. There's a really big misunderstanding about STEM. STEM is not about having more STEM graduates, more STEM students, more STEM uh, children sitting for more STEM subjects. STEM is about STEM concepts in their overall education. You know, in as I said, when they eat, there's so much science to that. And if you take the grades 8 to 11, 8 to 9, no, 6 to 9 curriculum, it's amazing. There are geography. When you take geography, there's so much STEM there. So it should be, actually, if you take the textbook, STEM is weaved into those. You can see that. It's not a big new thing. It's just that the teachers are not doing those practicals as they should. So there's a lot of practicals where it could be citizenship, it could be practical and technical skills, it could be in the sports curriculum, the health and physical education curriculum. There's so much science there. So it's about, everywhere, they are using, it's not only just STEM, it should be STEAM, science, technology, arts, and engineering and math. Design should be, it's there. They should, when you submit a paper, sometimes I find you submit a paper, first page is there, and the second page has only 2 lines. That's really, children should learn to pay attention to that, how you lay out when you do something. So you don't have to have STEM is a buzzword. I think it's already there. What we need to do is to have what the education we have now to really make it activity-based, as it is intended, So that really requires us changing the exams, and I think reforms, I don't think we need to do anything, we just need to change the exams, just take some of the exams out. Right. And then, without the pressure of exams, the teachers have time to do all the practicals, all the activities in the textbooks. The textbooks have all the activities. STEM is weaved into those.
Yes.
It's just a, big, just some people to talk about, just, throw about words, big words.
Right. Also, doctor, even though it seems like a password, and like you said, there is a myth about it. But also, the problem of having too many arts graduates has been highlighted, and the job market cannot facilitate jobs for art graduates. What is your opinion on this? How do we rectify this mistake? And we are also looking forward for an export-oriented economy. So, don't you think that technology is an important aspect that needs to be included in both secondary and tertiary education?
But political science and sociology, these are very important subjects, right? It's just our students are doing Buddhist civilization and logic and some selected subjects. So I think the fix is at the end. You fix the end. That is in the universities. The universities are right now, they just sit there and the students are brought to them. So they set aside, okay, we'll have this social department, we'll have political science, we'll have Buddhist civilization, and there's no market, it doesn't match the market. So what we need is to get the universities to get students to compete for students. Right now, there's okay, Sri Javadhanpur, they get so many students. No, students have to apply, and it should be each university has to compete for students. So we need to change the university admission system, and then some of these things where there's no demand will go down. And of course, some of the even if there's a demand, the government funding should be for focused areas. And I think university admissions, we need to really limit it to more research-based admissions. Right now, we are trying to increase the number of graduates, just paper qualifications. We need to increase the number of graduates with, research, quality graduates. So we need to reduce the government openings. Because right now the funding is, we are spending too much on, relatively too much on higher education compared to school education. I would double the school education budget, reduce the higher education budgets, reduce the, make it more demand driven. And then, the students have they don't have places to apply for, they look for other options. So we need to fix the end, you know, then right now, as long as there are openings in the universities, students will choose those tracks.
Yes, as you
So
very
begin
correctly
with the end.
Yes. As you very correctly brought up, there is a problem of resource availability, and with the economic crisis, the resource scarcity will obviously be a problem. So, how do you think that the government and the relevant authorities need to address the lack of resources, especially when it comes to allocations and money into the education budget, both secondary and tertiary, like you mentioned?
Yeah, we really need to look at the budget. And there's a 2003 study by World Bank. It showed that in the region, we actually owe our percentage we spend on school education is much less than what it should be when you take the overall education budget. I know that's very interesting. This is a book by Dr. N.M. Pera, The Case for Free Education, published in 1944. And he really said, when we said education shall be free from kindergarten to university, he said, have you budgeted that? Because they did not budget that, right? So we continue to do that, and what's been happening is, because there's a huge demand for the noises comes from the higher education sector, and we've been increasing we're increasing the number of places in universities. There's a knock-on effect on school education, right? Relative percent we spend on school education has been decreasing if you take the full education budget. So I think we need to go back to the 1944. And what he says is start with education up to 14 and make sure that is quality for everybody. So our goal should be all children completing 16 years of education. Right now we have pass rate of 60%, but we should say everybody should have minimum standard. That should be our goal. The rest of it actually, economic crisis, maybe sometimes you can't get higher education at this time. But our priority, I think we need to go back to where we were. The first mistake we made, it's somebody, I think, economist Joan Robinson said, in Sri Lanka, we are picking the fruits before the fruit is mature. That's what we did in 1944. We need to go back to that. We need to triple the education budget. And the rest, I don't know. We'll do what we can. But we need to increase the budget for school education.
Understood. So, as you very correctly brought up about the free education system, isn't the free education system going to face a major challenge with the economic crisis?
Absolutely. That's why we need to pick the most vulnerable and the more essential. Essential is we give every child, I think, 18 years of education, but maybe right now we will say 16 years. But we need to make sure that all the children, not a single one, should be left out. We should have minimum math, language, English. We need to give it to them. So that should be our focus. And if some of the universities have to charge fees, it's difficult for everybody, but we need to prioritize, and the priority should be school education. Because school education, if you look at economics, if you take the economics of it, the benefits, the public benefits are 100%. When you take higher education, there are more private benefits, right? So I think I don't think it's going to happen. It takes bold leadership. I don't see that coming here, but we'll just try to write this. No, this is going to be for another 10 years, this crisis. So we really need to prioritize, and the priority should be school education, school education, school education, and make sure every child, we don't leave